Hi guys, thanks for joining me. This is a sample training session between myself and my training partner Russell, just performed recently on 21st of December. What you're going to see in this video is a fairly standard training session for us that lasts about an hour and a half. What we do is each person chooses an exercise and gets his choice for about 5 minutes. Then the other person gets his choice of exercise for about 5 minutes. Typically what we're doing at the moment is each person gets 3 choices. What you'll see here is Russell will choose an exercise, I'll choose an exercise, Russell will choose one, I'll choose one. And so that takes us around about, I guess it's about 30 minutes or so of training time, and it usually takes us about, say, 40 minutes to complete. Given a couple of rest breaks along the way. That's then followed by us playing some games to help try and reinforce what we've just been practicing and sort of help cement it in. And we do that for usually anywhere from another 45 minutes up to maybe 2 hours in total, so that we get a whole session of maybe 2 hours. So this particular section was about an hour and a half, 45 minutes of drills, and 45 minutes of actual training games. I've chopped it down to about 15 minutes just to show you the essence of what's going on, but without getting really long and boring. So you'll see about 30 seconds of each drill. I'll just quickly talk you through it, what's going on, and then I've just added a couple of games at the end that I'll just quickly chat about as well. So let's get into it. Okay. We've done our warm-ups, and the first exercise is one for Russell, and he likes to do one where he plays 2 backhands and then runs around his backhand and plays one down my forehand, and then we play out the point and just become a free point. So again, you'll see Russell attempting to hit 2, run around, and I'm then doing whatever I like after that. So how this kind of is working for both of us is Russell's getting his backhand practice and his movement around the forehand pivot, and what I was getting is a chance to block a couple and counter loop on my forehand. Now this instead is one of my exercises, very simple exercise. All I really do here is serve long to Russell's forehand so that he can open up nice and strong. He can play wherever he likes, and we just play out the point. This is just really designed to, I can work on my long serve, Russell gets to loop, and I get to handle his attack, which I don't know where it's coming, and it forces me to be aggressive with my return. On the forehand I need to try and counter loop, on the backhand I mix up my block. Okay, and we're now back to Russell again. Russell's second exercise. In this particular case he wanted me to have a long kicking serve to his backhand so that he could practice opening up his backhand, and then we would pretty much play at the point. So the main criteria here is for me was to serve it fairly deep and try and keep a good variety of spin, and Russell's working on just opening up his backhand. I'm then able to do whatever I like after that. Okay, back to one of my exercises now, and what this is I want Russell to serve wherever he likes, however he likes, and he'll know that I will return his serve always to his forehand. He won't know how I'll return it, but my return of serve goes to his forehand, and then we play out the point. Again, this allows me to work on my return of serve. It allows Russell to know where my return is going, so he can usually open up with a strong attack on his forehand, and we play out the point. Back to Russell. He's working on just another service here of his that he wanted to work on for a little bit. So he just we just spent 5 minutes while he worked on a couple of serves, trying to get them to double bounce, and then following up, occasionally serving longer, letting me attack, and him working on his block and making sure that he can block aggressively rather than always loose. And yep, got that attack in there. Okay, back to me. What I'm doing in this final exercise is a simple one that I like to use often, which is a competition type drill where the server, the returner serve, person who's returning serve has to win 2 points in a row. If the returner can win 2 points in a row, he becomes the server, and now the other person has to try and win 2 points in a row off the service. And if you can, you get it. So it's a very simple exercise, but it allows you to check how well you're serving or how well you're returning. Because if you can never get the service, you know that your returner serve is not so good, needs more work. If you can hang on to the service for a long time, you know that you're serving fairly well. So at the moment, Russell's serving, and I'm trying to win back the service by winning 2 points in a row. It's a nice little drill that allows you to really play points, but also still be checking whether you're serving well and returning well. And that would be then, this is our last exercise, and we're about to hit the actual games. Now, just while we do that, I'm just going to mention a little bit. Now we're into our first game. I'm just going to pause this here for a second. Okay, I just wanted to pause that for a second just to talk a little bit more at leisure about what's going on in that drilling part in terms of the exercises. You can go back, have another look at the exercises and how we're performing them as you like. You can just go back to the video. What's happening in the drilling is we're both choosing drills that suit what we're trying to work on at the moment. Russell's working a little bit on his service, he's working a little bit on his backhand, he's overcoming a shoulder injury and he's getting his backhand back up to scratch, so he wants to work on his backhand quite a lot. He's also working, like me, a little bit on being more aggressive when he's being attacked, and rather than always just blocking safe, working on trying to actually get an aggressive block, almost a counter loop going. So that's what Russell was working on in this particular moment. What I've been working on is, because I've been transitioning to my new grip, I'm trying to work on the things that I think I need the most right now. And those things are, I want to work on my service and my transition of my grip from service to third ball so that I get the right grip in place. So I'm going to be doing I want to always do a lot of service work. I want to work on my returner serve to make sure that when the ball comes long, I'm nice and aggressive. When the ball comes short, I'm using flicks, pushes, whatever. So returner serve work's also important to me. And at the moment, what's also very important is when I'm attacked, when Russell is looping the ball at me, I want to make sure that with the long pips, I'm handling the ball correctly with my long pips, using chops, chop blocks and rolls. And when attacked on my smooth side, I'm working on trying to counter loop strong rather than passively block and stick my bat out and just hold my bat still and block it. I'm trying to work on actually counter looping. So those are where my drills are aimed at. So you notice that from my 3 drills that I chose, I had one where I served long to Russell so that he could loop the ball wherever he liked, and I could work on counter looping off the forehand, blocking on the backhand. I had one where he served to me and I could work on my returner serve, but I put my returner serve always to his forehand so that Russell could have a better chance of opening up well with his forehand, and then I had to play again blocks with the pips, rolls with the pips, counter looping with my forehand. And the final exercise I chose is my favourite little 2 serves exercise where the receiver has to win 2 points in a row, and if he does, he gets to be the server. And if he can't win 2 points in a row, the server stays the server all the time. And that's again a heavy emphasis on serve practice, serve return, and it lets you know whether you're doing a good job of winning points off your serve, winning points off your returner serve. So at the moment, that's my emphasis: serve, serve return, and when being attacked, being aggressive with my forehand and just handling the ball correctly with my long pips. And those are the reasons why I'm using these set of drills at the moment. Now, having said that, that will change from day to day and depending on what I'm working on. But having done that, what we now try and do is Russell and I, we go in, we play a few games to follow it up and try and use what we've just trained straight away in a match, and try and help, I guess, cement it into our brains, and that we find that that helps us as well. So I'll just talk you through a couple of matches. I've got about 10 minutes worth, I think, of match from me and Russell just to talk you through. Okay, back to the game between myself and Russell. I think we've only played a point or two, and what you're going to see a lot in this game, and both games really, what you'll see is you won't see me twiddling an awful lot. You'll see hopefully me doing a lot of that where Russell will loop and I'll counter loop off the bounce quickly. What I'm trying to do, to give you a quick summary, is I want to serve well, get my bat twiddled, turned to the right grip position. I want to stay fairly close to the table, but just far back enough that I've got a bit of time and room to swing. So I don't want to be right up on the end line. I want to be a little step back, but I don't want to get pushed further back. And I want to play an aggressive mixing of games. So you'll see me use a variety of techniques off the backhand side, the long pimple side, which is the red rubber here. Off the forehand, I'll be looking to attack anything long I want to attack, wherever possible. When Russell attacks me, if he attacks my backhand, you'll see me try and mix the ball around with the long pips. And if he gets it to my forehand, I'm going to try and counter-attack, take the initiative back. So hopefully you won't see me trying to block too often. Russell in himself, he's a good quick attack player, good forehand loop, quite a nice backhand loop now that his shoulder's getting better, quite good serves. So he again wants to play fast attacks and keep the pressure on me. And that's what I want to be doing. Anything long, just get in and loop. Okay. So again, you'll see here with my grip, it's not so easy to really see unless you're close up, but I am using that new grip, and there's a good example of me just being defensive and Russell making the error. Russell handles my long pips not badly. Yeah, probably on the returner serves the best chance to see how really extreme that grip is. And no fingers on the blade at all. Mixing up a little roll there with the pips, another block attempt, and that's what I'm trying to do in this particular training session. Good serving there, and managed to take the first game. Okay, now this point of view, you'll get a kind of a good view just of how I look from a front-on perspective. Russell's a fairly standard player in that respect, forehand, backhand, topspin, but you'll get a good idea of really how I'm gripping the bat there. And you'll notice also that these days my legs don't need to be quite as bent. You'll see I'm not going back from the table anywhere near as much. Much less shoulder rotation. There's still a bit, but I'm getting a lot more of those type of loops where I can use the wrist snap and the forearm snap to whip through the ball without having to overdo it. And there's another good example. And I'm finding that as I get used to this, it's actually surprisingly easy to actually play. So I'm quite hopeful that I should be able to continue in this mode. The backhand, as you can see there, it does look a little bit awkward playing on the backhand, but with the long pips you can still push, you can chop, you can do the little roll that you'll see me do from time to time. You can't really with the pips play a real... yeah, that's about the limit of what you can play in terms of a top spin stroke. You couldn't really drive the ball or loop the ball with the pips using this grip, but it's not a problem. The last couple of days I've been experimenting with turning the rubber and the bat around in a windshield wiper motion, and I've got some video of that from yesterday that I'll put up on the site in the next couple of days, and you can have a look at how that's working in a game. But in this particular training session, I was still working on to play a backhand with the smooth rubber. I was still using actual twiddling of the bat in my hand, whereas the last 3 or 4 days ago I started experimenting without actually twiddling the bat, just turning the bat over using I guess a Samila type windshield wiper. And a good example there of that forehand of what's actually possible while you're off balance, while you're moving, to be able to hit a powerful forehand simply from the whipping motion. And doing quite well here. Russell's a very good player, so he's a good test for me, and we've played a lot recently, so he works me very hard, and it's hard for any one player to get a real dominant effect on the other. He loops well forehand and backhand, serves well, so it's a good test of how I'm tracking. The other nice thing is being a good-natured guy that he is. He doesn't mind the fact that I'm experimenting with all this stuff. It doesn't faze him, so he just gets on and does his thing, and just sort of enjoys the training, which is always good. And there you can see I actually twiddled to play a looping backhand, whereas now I'm experimenting without having to actually twiddle the bat and finding this to be a quicker and useful shot. But both Russell and I are working on, when someone loops, trying to work on getting an aggressive return rather than a safe block, and I find that increases the pressure on the other player. You don't always make the shot because obviously it's a tough shot to play, more so for Russell than for me, because on my forehand side with the particular bat motion that I have, it actually is a lot easier than before to counter loop. And there's a good example of Russell and his backhand, a very nice backhand there. But Russell's the difference between us is that when I attack Russell, Russell will take a step backwards and do a sort of a half loop or a counter loop from a pace further back. When Russell attacks me, I'm holding my position up close and just using my whipping arm action to whip the ball in a counter loop, so I don't actually have to give up ground. On the backhand I can just block and roll with the long pips. So there's a good example of me trying to counter loop off his attack without me going backwards. Just basically I serve, I step back into position, and I play side to side. I don't actually try and run backwards too much or go backwards when I'm attacked. And that's partly because of the long pips I can do that, and partly because of the grip. And oops, missed that one. But you can see here what we're trying to do is we're just trying to use these principles, what we worked on in our drills, serving well, returning serve well. Russell's using his backhand, which he worked on. I'm using, and we're just starting a fresh game here, sorry. I'm using my serves, my returner serve. I'm trying to vary my long pips on the backhand. Excellent shot there by Russell. I'm trying to not give up ground on my forehand, but stay in close, but not too close, but just a step within a step of the table, and counter loop off the ball. And again, you'll see here, I think I go down about 4-0 due to 2 faults in a row. A bit of a lack of concentration here. Yep. So I'm 4-0 down, and at that point, obviously I start to concentrate more. Russell probably feels a little bit more comfortable, and I think I soon catch up. So I think we're about 4-1 now. Russell looking to work that serve that he'd been training, one of the serves. I'm varying the spin there, got away with it. Russell just overhit it a little bit. Good serve, vary the spin, vary it again, and there I'm looking to follow up. So you saw the long pip chop block, followed by a long pip roll, and then I was ready to step around off Russell's top spin and try and counter top spin it. Good variation there. All of this variation just makes it a little bit tougher for Russell to know what's coming. Good variation. And a lovely, that's exactly what I'm looking for there. That's a good point to watch again, probably. Very good example of what I'm trying to do. And there's Russell catching me with the wrong bat angle on the backhand. Missed that one, just clipped the top of the net, I think. So you can see now, in terms of comparison to perhaps some of the older videos in the coaching program that you've seen me play, obviously I'm not playing defensive. I'm now looking to hold my position at the table within a step or so of the table. With this grip, I'm now able to do things a little bit differently. I'm more upright in my stance. I don't need to bend my legs quite as much. I'm not going forwards and backwards as much, which is also a little bit easier on the body. Looking to counter loop a lot. Yeah, I got away with that, but I attacked a good an attack. Russell stepped back, counter looped, and I blocked instead of looped again, which is what I'm trying to get rid of my game. So you can see here that a little bit of luck. Bit of luck there never hurt. But really what's happening is, because of the way I'm holding the bat now, the tactics are a little bit different because of where I want to position, and an excellent example of what you can get away with off balance, leaning over, but because it's a wrist and forearm snap, I can snap through and still perform that and make a fairly strong forehand out of it. Just missed the roll there, and we're coming up to the end, and you can see now, so yes, my game has changed. There are further adjustments to be made, but on the whole I'm still fairly happy with how things are going, and this is really a fairly typical training session for myself and Russell. About an hour and a half this took overall. A lovely forehand to finish, and that's really what we're working on, just to make sure that we drill what we need to work on and then practice it straight away in a game. And got away with the win in that